So this is the new Nike Phantom GT that unfortunately I did not get early access to because, as I've explained in a previous video, I'm not exactly in Nike's good graces. So with that said, I want to do a breakdown or a technical analysis of the new Phantom GT and also discuss which direction Nike seems to be going in here, of course with my full review of the Elite as well as the takedown models to come hopefully in the next week and a half. So stay tuned to the channel for that. If you guys do end up enjoying this video, please don't forget to support it with a like, and if you don't want to miss out on future Phantom GT content, make sure you hit that subscribe button along with the little bell notification so you get notified as soon as my review goes live. So first things first, in case you didn't know, because it wasn't exactly well explained in Nike's press release, they'll be going from Mercurial, Tiempo, Phantom Vision, and Phantom Venom to Mercurial, Tiempo, and Phantom GT, because the Phantom GT replaces both the Phantom Vision and the Phantom Venom. So with that in mind, I'd like to have a moment of silence for the Venom and the Vision. Okay, peace. Get that out of here. So just like every other line from Nike, you can get high-end and low-end versions of the Phantom GT. The one that Nike has really been pushing on launch day is the low-cut variation of the Phantom GT Elite, which is going to bear a retail price of $250, the same price as the outgoing Phantom Venom. Not too surprising, but if you do wish to have a little bit of extra ankle support and you have an extra $25 to flush down the toilet, you can buy the mid-cut variation of the boot for $275, which basically has a collar that looks almost identical to the one found on the Superfly 7. From there, the takedown models are significantly less expensive, with the Phantom GT Pro retailing for $130, and based on the info that's out there so far, it appears that the Pro will only be available as a low-cut model. Not too many details on it. Again, review on those coming soon. And then below that, you have your Academy tier, which is available as a low as well as a mid. The mid-cut variation retailing for $85, and the low-cut variation retailing for $5 less at $80. And then there is also a Phantom GT Club, which doesn't typically have any relation to any of the models within the rest of the line. It's more of an extreme budget option, and that, as usual, like the club tiers normally retail for, is $55. By the way, if you guys are interested in any of these new Phantom GTs, you can click the first link down below. That's going to take you to the new releases page on my website, where you'll find buy it now links with exclusive SR4U coupon codes to get any of the new Phantom GTs, high-end or low-end, below their normal retail prices. Like I said earlier, I plan on reviewing all versions of the Phantom GT very soon on the channel, so stay tuned for that. Focusing more specifically on the Elite version of the Phantom GT, I'd be really curious to hear your opinions on the way that they look if you haven't left it down below in the comment section already. Because I'll be honest in saying that when I first saw them, I wasn't in love with the way that they look, especially the side profile, the lateral side of the boot. They've gone for small Nike swooshes kind of towards the heel and then across the top of the foot, similar to a Hypervenom Phantom 1. And I think most of the time, people tend to prefer the larger swoosh versus smaller swooshes. So it's an interesting design choice from Nike. But the more I see them, the more I seem to like them. I think they did a good job with these two launch colorways, and the white ones in particular really remind me of this colorway of the Nike Mercurial Superfly 1, which I've always thought is a very good looking boot. So it's not my favorite looking boot from the Nike brand, but I don't think that they're horrifically ugly either. However, I am curious to hear your opinions. You can definitely tell that they took inspiration from the OG Hypervenom Phantom 1 with the graphics that they went for, and I did want to point out that I think it's very funny where they positioned the ACC logo. Now, if you just look at the silhouette of the Phantom GT, there's nothing about it that I would say is overly distinctive. It's a Flyknit upper. There's obviously some significant texturing, which we'll get into in just a second. Has an off-centered lacing system. They have gone away from the lace cover of both the Venom and the Vision that I think most people will actually be pretty happy about. And then it features a split sole construction with a pretty aggressive bladed stud pattern. So in a lot of ways, it shares a lot in common with the current generation of Mercurial, and I think most would argue looks very speed boot-esque, even though the marketing material is kind of suggesting that this boot is designed more for playmakers and agility in general. But as a whole, because speed boots are so popular, I don't really blame Nike for doing another football boot that does compare somewhat closely to the Mercurial, given that it is by far their most popular. And then again, if they are trying to relate it back to the OG Hypervenom Phantom 1, that was also kind of a speed boot-esque option from the Nike brand. So this, again, kind of relates to that a little bit more closely. Now, the main technology Nike is trying to push here with the Phantom GT is the texturing. In fact, the boot is named after the texture. GT sounds very automotive. GT actually stands for generative texture in this particular instance. We'll hear this for a backstory and tell me if it sounds familiar. They took a football boot, they loaded it up with sensors and a bunch of fancy cameras recording everything. They took the best players in the world and they have them make passes and take shots and control the ball and do tricks and do anything that the best players in the world would do. And based on that data, they created a texture pattern that allows for maximum awesomeness. Not to discredit what Nike have done here, because I'm sure they spent a lot of time, effort, and money on this, but I don't think in 2020 people are going to be that excited about putting texturing or added grip in certain spots of the foot based on studies that they've done, because I can think of like 12 other football boots over the last decade that have promoted the exact same thing. Generic backstory aside, apparently Nike went through hundreds of different texture patterns, eventually settling on the one that you see on the Phantom GT now, where the goal of this texture was not to provide as much grip as possible, but to provide the perfect amount of grip. They actually specified in their press release that they didn't want to provide too much grip, which I believe is kind of a subtle shot at what Adidas currently has with the Demon Skin spikes on the Predator series, because the texture on this boot definitely seems like it is somewhat of an answer to the Adidas Predator line. With that said, it's difficult for me to comment at this point in time how much grip this texturing does or does not provide. However, I will point out that the first time I saw it, I was a little bit surprised because it immediately reminded me of the texturing found on the Adidas Jabulani match ball from the 2010 World Cup. To me, this kind of just looks like a more extreme variation of the texture found on the Phantom Vision, which of course this replaces, but Nike did specify in their press release that this is not just texturing on the Nike Skin top layer fused to the surface of the Flyknit base upper, but instead the texture is molded into the Flyknit upper. I'm not entirely sure what exactly that means or how that's going to feel, if it's going to feel different from other textured uppers we've seen from Nike in the past, but it is something that they pointed out and I am curious to get my hands on. Texture aside, the upper is a base of Flyknit, which is a material that we've been seeing quite a lot of from Nike basically since they first introduced it in 2014 in their football boots. And Flyknit isn't as generic as it might sound because we've seen so many different Flyknit uppers and all of them tend to feel a little bit different. So I'm not sure if this one is super thin, if it's a little bit padded. That, until I have the boots on my feet, I can't really comment on. But I do know for a fact that it does seem to be pretty simplified in that there's no Flywire or Brio cables, there's no high tenacity yarns like we see on the current Mercurial series. So from a structure standpoint, I expect this to be a little bit more sock-like, a little bit more soft and pliable, and probably not as responsive or as locked in, which you might view as a negative thing because that seems to be something that Nike has really put emphasis on with all of their football boots over the last several years. But again, it seems like they're trying to recapture some of that magic of the OG Hypervenom Phantom 1, which from a lockdown and responsiveness standpoint, because of the lack of structure to the upper, it didn't do that very well, but the comfort and fit of the boot because of those downfalls, if you will, was fantastic. So I think hopefully they've tried to do something somewhat similar with the Phantom GT, and the base shape of the boot is supposed to be very, very similar to that of the OG Hypervenom. So I'm very curious to have these on my feet just to see exactly how they feel. They do also specify that the upper is coated with ACC, so the touch should be a 10 out of 10. Moving to the base of the boot, you're going to find what I would personally classify as a split sole construction, even though technically the forefoot and heel stud plates aren't split because they're connected by this lateral stiffener bar running down the outside of the foot, but it appears to have a somewhat similar split sole construction currently found on the Mercurial series with a bit of a twist, of course. It's what they're calling their Hyper Quick system, which again kind of plays into the fact that they're trying to promote this more as a speed, quickness, agility boot rather than a control, accuracy, or power boot, which they were previously doing with the outgoing variations of the Phantom. As for the stud pattern, it is a very Mercurial-esque layout, and it has some interesting shaped studs where it's kind of like a conical stud that's been like split and slid down the middle, which I just think looks very cool. But apparently, according to Nike studies, this is again found in their press release, this is their most efficient stud pattern when it comes to medial and lateral movement. So not so much an emphasis on forward quickness, kind of like what you see from the Mercurial. Again, more of an emphasis on agility, but I expect that this stud pattern will feel fairly similar to what we currently have with the Mercurials, which is very aggressive, and I think what most people are looking for from an FG stud pattern. And that pretty much concludes my preview of the Phantom GT. Again, reviews on all variations of the Phantom GT coming soon to the channel, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on that. If you guys enjoyed this preview, please don't forget to support it with a like. And again, if you're interested in any of these new Phantom GT models, first link down below, go ahead and check it out. If you have any questions regarding anything that I talked about in this video, or any opinions of your own on the Phantom GT, feel free to leave those down below in the comment section of this video. If you're not following me on social media, all of that information is linked down below in the description as well. And other than that, guys, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.